In today's age, bass boats are getting really expensive, and a lot of people say they can't afford them. And tonight, I think I got a plan where just about anybody might be able to afford a fully rigged tournament bass boat. Plus, we're going to talk about a popular angler coming back to the Elite Series, and maybe get into some fall fishing tips and a whole lot more. So tonight, I bring you on HellaBass Live, Mr. Randy Howell. What's going on?
What's up, man? What's happening? Finally got on
I
the big
suppose,
show, man. I've been waiting
yeah,
all my life for this moment. It's here.
it was the classic, and then this, right? That was the two
That's
things that
it.
you wanted to.
Yeah. Just had to wait 10 years before it happened, 10 years between the classic and me getting on your show. So it's happening, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, it was what? It was 2014, right?
Yeah,
Classic.
yeah, yeah. 2014, man. It's flown by quick too. Gosh, 10 years. It's been fast. Uh, we're here. We're here, man. We need to do it again now.
Right on. Well, that's a possibility now. So, well, tonight, HellaBass Live is presented by Arsenal Fishing, boosted by Powerless Lithium. Codes down in the description if you want to support either one of those brands in the channel. But a couple things on the agenda tonight. We're going to talk about, we're going to deliver on the title of the video. We're going to talk about how you can get a brand new bass boat for $100. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about Randy coming back to the Bassmaster Elite Series. And then I got a few other topics. We'll definitely answer some viewer questions, probably talk about some fall fishing topwater tips because I know Randy's a sucker for a good topwater bite, just like the rest of
Yeah.
us. And then we'll get to a bunch of questions.
Sounds good.
See what the chat says. Make sure that Brian, as always, tells us we sounds good, looks good. Go Lynx. We got a WNBA championship game or game 3 for women's basketball in Minnesota tonight.
Yeah, I thought what time's it start? It's already on?
It's going right now, I think, already.
Gosh, it's gonna hurt
Um,
our ratings tonight. I hope it doesn't.
I think
Maybe
we'll
they
be okay. There's probably not a huge crossover, but
Yeah, it might not be right. Yeah.
people saying hi. Yeah.
Taylor
So let's
Bergen, I
see. Are
saw
you
that pop up. Yeah.
what? How long have you been giving your, or I guess not giving, I guess giving,
Yeah.
raffling
Yeah,
your
that's
boat
right.
off, however you want to say it, with King's Home now? It's been years, right?
Yeah, this will be the 14th year, 14 boats, man. So it's been a lot of boats really in a short amount of time. It seems like we're up to date after last year's 13th boat. We've raised a little over $3.1 million with those $100 ticket donations all those years. So it started out slow in the first few years, and then 2014 winning the classic right in Birmingham, right where the King's Home Ministry is. All the boys and girls ranches, all the women's homes are all right there in the area, and we had them in there in the arena on that final day. And then the miracle happened, and I won the tournament, and it kind of put the boat giveaway on the map. And ESPN actually came back out and did a show, an interview and a whole show at the next classic about King's Home. I'm gonna show a little clip of that probably on a Throwback Thursday coming up here pretty soon on social media. That's a tearjerker too, so it's
Hmm.
pretty special. But man, that helped us get going, and the last few years we've sold over 3,000 tickets, 32, 33, 3,400 in that range 2 years in a row. So if we could, my goal has been forever been 5,000 tickets. It doesn't seem like it would be that hard to do 5,000 tickets. That'd be $500,000 we could do that, but it costs about $165,000 a year to operate one group home in those boys ranch and girls ranches. So like two house parents live in the home, and usually it'll be five girls in a girls home or five boys in a boys home. So it costs that much to operate one group home for a year. So we raise 300,000, they can operate two homes for the whole year, which puts it in perspective. So it's a pretty special deal, and it's humbling that all the fishing world all over the country and other countries, 8 countries and 50 states, we've sold tickets in sometime in the past 13 years. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're saying, right? So like if you hit your goal, it's a 1 in 5,000 chance to win a bass boat,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
the
If we
the
hit
the
that,
average has been a little better than that. So
yeah,
guaranteed,
way
it will be
better.
way better than trying to buy a Powerball ticket.
Yeah, big time, man. It really is, especially because really you think about a lot of people buy two tickets or five tickets. Some people buy 10. You got a few people that buy more than that. So really, when you get down to it, there's, might be 2,000 people that have buy tickets, out of 3,500 tickets to get sold most of the time. So it's really good odds. I mean, nobody, of course, nobody that ever won it thought they were going to ever win anything, and they've always said, "I've never won anything," and then they won it. So, I've bought tickets to win boats and four wheelers and guns and everything every time. It doesn't even matter if it was a good cause. I'd always buy it because I just want to try to win something, and because that's what's in our nature as fishermen. We want to try to win something. So it's pretty cool to have a chance to win that boat. It's my fully loaded Triton. This year's a 21 XP, a new model that just come out this year. It's honestly the best. I've run them 25, 26 years now, my whole career, and is the best riding Triton, all around Triton I think that's ever been built. It's really a good riding boat. It's fast, and I got it loaded up with four big Lowrances with a 16 up front, active target two, power pole trolling motor, power poles, charge, impulse lithium batteries, that Mercury four stroke with a leash on it. Man, I think it's about everything. I think that's about everything, but it's totally loaded
Do you leave
out.
a couple Livingston crankbaits or howlers in there for the winters or
Yeah, I'd
not?
leave some in there. I can. I sure will. I sure will. All you gotta do is ask. I'll leave it in there because if you win it, you come to Gunnersville. I go out in Gunnersville, even fish a few hours with you and show you all about the boat and send you back home happy, man. You can't beat that.
Yeah, so I guess maybe tell people, I guess King's Home, maybe not everybody knows, but like what does any of the money come out? Like how does that work? Like what of the donation, how does it all work?
Yeah, 100% of that goes. 100% of it goes right to it because that's the only way. That's the hard part. Like when we started working with them and trying to, long story short, back 2007 at the Classic in Birmingham, they reached out to me through my website and just said, "Hey, could some fishermen from the Classic come do some talk to the boys in the boys ranch because they use fishing. It's got a lake on the property there. They use fishing as like a rehabilitation program for a lot of the boys that have been through bad abuse and stuff." So I went over there, me and my wife, and my boys were real little then, and we went over there and thinking I was just going to do a good deed, and got over there, man, and just it hit our heart pretty hard. And we saw all the amazing people that were just giving their life to help serve people and help these kids and these ladies that are homeless or running from domestic violence or kids that are just been abused in foster care for years and then they end up there. So we come up with a way. I thought, well, if I we could just give my boat away and in the end and raise $100,000 with 1,000 tickets, that would be pretty easy to do. So at the time, I talked to different sponsors. I had Triton and different ones, and everybody was on board with it. I had some support with, giving me some of the stuff that were on it, but I still had to pay for it a little bit out of my pocket. And but we did it, and the only way to do it that you can do it is a legal deal in Alabama. You can't. It's a no raffle, no lottery state in Alabama. That's why it's not a raffle. So the charity can't buy the boat and pay for a boat and then give it away and give a tax deduction for it. That's why it has to be you donate for your chance to win. You donate to the charity. Randy Howell gives you a chance to win his boat, and it's kind of separated that way. So I actually have to give the boat away, and it's my boat in my name, and I give it away to you if you win it or whoever wins it. And so all that full money goes straight to King's Home. So if we raise like the biggest year was like 463,000 that one year because the guy gave $50,000 back to King's Home when he won the boat, and that took us up to our biggest total ever. So it all goes right directly to it, and it's a pretty cool deal. And we've been able to do it every year, and it's been a blessing. I've had more people help, and companies help and different things like that. But it all works out in the end. We've been real blessed for it.
So you basically get zero of the money. It's between you and your sponsors are donating the rigged boat.
Yeah, to the person
And
that wins it. That's right.
to the person that wins it, and every cent of that $100 goes to King's Home directly.
It sure does. Yeah, sure does. So that's what's awesome about it. That's why when I tell stories about it, I'm so close to them, and they're such a small ministry that I know, and I know how frugal they are. So I know how far that much money lasts. That's why we know exactly how much it costs to operate one group home. And they've got seven group homes just on the girls' ranch. So we can operate 2 full homes out of 7 of the girls' homes for a whole year just with the boat giveaway alone. So that takes a lot of more pressure off of them because most of their money comes from they have 3 thrift stores, and that's where a lot of their money comes from, thrift store stuff, and then private donations. And they don't get any federal funding like some charities because they're a faith-based organization. So that's why it's so special to us. And now it's been going for so long, man. I mean, I see kids like that. We had a golf tournament. They raised money. We were at that a few weeks ago working, and one of the boys come up, man. He was like great old big old tall kid. He's like 26 years old now. And he was at the first boat giveaway, like 2011 or 12, and he was like 11 or 12 years old. And he went through the military, got out, he got married, he had 2 little kids, and man, his life was great, like a normal guy. And he was one of them kids that would have been a product of society basically and never made it out of the place that he was in had it not been for King's Home. And that's when you see real people that you see and you see how it helps. That's what motivates us to really do it every year and hammer away. And I don't feel bad about asking because I know what it does, how much it helps, you know.
Yeah. So Aaron says, where do we buy tickets?
Yeah, kingshome.com. Rich has got the link up here in the show on the page somewhere, I'm sure. But it's easy to find. There it is right there. Kingshome.com/Randy Howell takes you right to the donate page. And it's tax deductible. You get that receipt at the end of the year right there. You can do 1, 2, 3, 4 tickets all the way 10. You can do as many tickets as you want. It's so easy. And so now there's no paper tickets like old school years when we first
Right.
started. You know, we sold tickets like paper tickets, and now it's all automated. It's all in a computer system. And on the day of when we cut the system off at 12 noon Central Time on the 16th, on that Saturday, they already have the auditors in there going through everything the night before, going through them all the three. It goes through everything 3 times, and they print all the tickets out. The machine has a perfect 6 cut deal, and the machine cuts all 6 pages. You know, a page cuts 6 places with the people's name and phone numbers on it. So everything is identical everywhere, and it's audited 3 times and counted. And man, it's we've been
And
doing
it's
it, so
done
it's
live,
really good.
right? Like, so
Yeah,
you
and
can watch the
we'll
ticket get drawn on your Facebook page or the King's
mine, yeah,
Home or
right on
something
my
like that.
Facebook. Yeah, right on my Facebook. Just Randy Howell Fishing on Facebook. That seems to always stay connected better than all the other ways we've tried to do it. So we just do it right on Facebook, and then immediately we post it everywhere after that, after it's over with. But just a few minutes after 2 o'clock Central Time, we'll draw that ticket. And I mean, out of 13 years, we've had 8 winners. Uh, in other states, you know, that aren't Alabama. Last year was the first time we had Alabama in 3 years.
Hmm.
So we actually do more tickets out of state because of websites and podcasts and social media and everything like that. It spreads around, and it's really good. And last year, the kid that won it was 27 years old, and he had just got married, had a baby, didn't need a boat that cost that much. And so one of my buddies at Smith Lake, he's bought 3 of them in the past, and as soon as somebody says they want to sell it, he says, man, let me get the first shot. So he bought $75,000. That kid got 75 grand and flipped it right to him. He never even touched it, and got him 75,000. So if somebody don't need the boat, you know, I got a guy like several years ago was on a Skeeter State team in Texas, and he didn't need it because he was on the state team there, and he sold it. So it's a lot of good things you can do with it if you can't keep it.
November 16th, Jim.
Hmm.
Yep.
16, not
Yeah.
18. Yeah.
And if you can't do $100, I'm sure I think there's a way to optionally donate some money if you just want to donate 5, 10, $20. If you can do it, there's places to do that on the website as well, I'm sure. So,
Yeah. Yeah. There's like you can do that.
or you get a couple friends together, you pool in $20 a piece, and even if none of you
Yeah.
want the bass boat, Randy's got plenty of buddies that'll buy that bass boat if you guys win it,
Sure
and you guys
do.
can feel good about it. So,
Yeah. You don't even have to drive to Gunnersville to get it. We can take care of you, man. You can just get the check in the mail.
nice. Ricky says there's no way he's selling it.
Yeah, I know. It'd be hard to sell it. I mean, if you were a hardcore fisherman, it'd be hard to sell it. I'd have to sell whatever I had already and then keep it. That's probably what I would do. And that's what quite a few guys have done in the past. So, because this boat is dialed in, the best I've ever had one. I hadn't had any, knock on wood, I hadn't had any mechanical problems with it. And man, everything works good. It's got 130, I think it had 137 hours on it when the last I looked. So
So
just
that
had the
just
oil
shows
change.
you that Randy's not a huge grapher. He graphs some, but he likes to put the trolling motor down and cast
Yeah.
to find those bass.
We still fish too much, man. That's what's wrong with me. Yeah, I need to spend more time running that trolling motor and or that big motor and idling around. Like Laker guides, of course, but he also fishes twice as many tournaments. But he was like, man, he got his oil change the other day for like the third time. He's got over 300 hours on his. So, but I don't fish as much, so it's in good shape.
Yeah. And so you've been kinda known to like your Tritons a little on the fast side. So what
Mhm.
kind of, speed does this thing crank out?
This one top speed on this one has been 77 by myself. Um, light, but tournament loaded. I've been mostly running a 25 Tempest on it a lot, and that 25 Tempest on it's a good quick eye to hole, and it'll still run about 72 with two people tournament loaded, 71, 72. So it does really good.
Yeah. You still pass plenty of people at 72 tournament loaded. As lo
Man, you
as lo
sure do.
as lo people like to brag about their tournament boats. Most of them don't go 70 tournament loaded.
No, no. If you can run 70, I've found that especially this year, if you can run 70, you're passing just about everybody in front of you. Like at the boat race at Lacrosse, a few weeks ago in that open running down toward the lock, uh, I was running 72 something going downstream, and I was just sucking them up fast as I could see them. I mean, most people are running like in the low 60s, I think, on average.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, great. And then, like I said, this is not some fly by night thing. Like this is, more than a decade. There's a lot of proof behind this. This is not like a pop up
Yeah.
overnight. Just it's the right time of year. We were going to talk about you going back to I'm not gonna lie. I kind of knew about Randy going back to Bassmaster a little while ago. Didn't say anything. But so yeah, good timing. We can talk about this, and if there's any questions, we'll try to touch on them. If you kind of came in late, you can hear the go back and hit the replay and start from the beginning. But also, big news: Randy's Bassmaster after was it 5, 6 years at BPT? Is that
6 years, yeah. 6 years. So it kind of came about quickly. When me and you talked a while back, I thought it was going to be the end of October, 1st of November before they gave me the confirmation, and then I could actually talk about it. And then just kind of quickly they called and surprised me, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, 3 weeks ago, and just said, "Hey, you're definitely in, and we're getting ready to write the story tomorrow on Bassmaster.com." And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm not even ready yet. I haven't talked to sponsors or done anything yet. I was kind of keeping it quiet." And they were like, "Well, you better hurry up and do it." So I hurry up and
Sure.
made my calls and bowed out of my MLF side, talked to Duckett and the MLF people, and just left there on good terms, no hard feelings there with anybody. Just let them know I'm really my 6 years at Major League Fishing has been good for me. I've learned a lot. It's probably made me a better angler. Fishing in that format against that competition has definitely made me have to be a better bass fisherman than I ever have been. Um, it's definitely difficult, very difficult. I haven't done as good consistently in that format as I would like to. It's disappointing I never won one of those tournaments like I was hoping to before time was over with. But in the midst of it, it just so many things change every year. There's so many, you know, it should become a lot of turmoil across the whole bass fishing world. On both tours, just lots of turmoil, as you know, this year. From a lot of it from forward facing sonar, from one thing to the next, and I've just really I needed a fresh kind of start over. I feel like I've missed the Bassmaster Classic. I missed the Bassmaster stage for a long time, and a big part of that with Laker coming up, fishing. He's fished all the opens this year, the EQs, and finished I think in the 30s, maybe in the points. Didn't make it this year, but that has a lot to do with me wanting to get back to bass at the time I'm going back now, because he's trying to get there. My goal inevitably is going to be for him to make it and be there, hopefully sooner than later, and us both be on the same tour together, and be in the Bassmaster Classic together. That would really be the ultimate dream for me and him both. And he's always told me growing up as a kid, ever since I won the Classic, that he wanted to fish Bassmaster one day. He always told me that, Dad, I want to go fish Bassmaster no matter what you're doing. I'm going to do that. And I'm like, okay, let's go, you know. So, and I knew all these years that I've had that, you know, Classic uh, legend exemption in my back pocket. I knew I could use it. So when I left, I knew I could come back. And that was a big thing I've always remembered and thought of, because, you know, possibly if I hadn't had that, I might have, who knows, I might not have left the first time. I don't know, but I just felt good about being able to come back. But when I went to come back, it wasn't quite as easy as it once had been. You know, we had to go through a bunch of the criteria, had to fish a division of the opens. Um, and I fished the three Northerns this year, and that kind of gave me my spot in there. And then just for viewers that don't know how it works, um, the if you win one classic, you get 1 point, one angler of the year, 1 point. If you win two, you get 2 points. So like Jordan Lee got in last year, he won two classics, so he was ahead of me because he won two. So nobody else on that list has won more than one classic. It's like 6 or 7 guys on the list trying to go back. But so next, it's the number of bass events fished in your lifetime. So I started when I was 17 years old, so I fished 282 bass events. So I was like way more tournaments fished than Cliff Pace at second. So he was the second one to get in. Thankfully, with Rick Clunn opening up a spot, it gave one more spot so Cliff Pace could get in, because he's been trying to get in a couple years now. And so it all worked out good, and I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about the schedule. You know, I think Major League Fishing, what they're changing and doing with the scoping for one period out of three, it's going to be a cool deal for viewers, and that's probably going to help their ratings. And I think it's going to really make it cool for drama to see guys have to fish, you know, regular style for 5 hours, and then 2.5 hours they can scope. That's going to be cool to see. Bass didn't make a lot of changes on their ruling, other than just a little bit of the, you know, it's kind of the same. I'll run my boat exactly like it is right now. I got one Ford active target 2 on my trolling motor. I got a 16 and a 12 Lowrance in the front, two 12s in the back. So I've got 48 inches of screen now. So I won't have to do much different than I have been. So, but the scheduling that Bass did on the elites was pretty good. They obviously tried to schedule stuff where it was not going to be dominated by one-dimensional fishing, and I think it's going to fit into my style of fishing really good. So I'm excited about the whole upcoming year.
Yeah, and I think the one thing is the legend exemption is not necessarily a a one-way street. It's got to be a mutually right. Like
Yeah.
there's probably a few people that have won classics or AOIs that are not high on the list for Bassmaster currently, based on how things split. Maybe that's just a polite way to say it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So
Yeah.
there's not automatically, you have the point, but it also there's other factors. It's not the only thing, right?
Hmm.
So
Right. Yeah. So it's they used to, in the early years of when we first started Major League Fishing, in the first couple of years, when everybody started to go, some guys went back after 1 year, then several after 2 and 3. They were just letting everybody come back. You didn't have to have a title or an exemption. They were just letting guys come back. And then at 2022, seeing I didn't know they changed the rules, so I thought all I had to do was call them up and say, "Hey, I want to use that exemption and come back as soon as the season starts." And little did I know, 2022 they rewrote the rule, and only allow for two exemptions per year, and that was the criteria for each exemption. And because of, guys obviously were getting mad that were fishing over there, and because they were letting all the guys back in, and I get that. I don't blame them. So what they did was a really good way of doing it. It makes it legit for everybody. It's no funny business. No sponsors can get you in. Don't matter if they like you versus they don't like him. They do like me. That ain't got nothing to do with who they like. They basically have the guideline, and that's what they follow. And I did what they said, and I got my turn popped up and green light to go. So I'm excited about it. Only thing could make it any better if Laker could have made it. He could have got out there too, but he's paying his dues and doing what we all know you got to do to make it. So hopefully it'll come back around, and that talent pool is strong, man. Those 9 guys that made it this year, all those young guys, like half of them live around Guntersville, so I see like Tucker Smith and his buddy, that made it, Blake, Paul Marks. They're all those guys are living up here around Guntersville now, and they fish all the time. So that's how you get so good. If you fish a whole lot, it definitely helps, and it's a good lake to
Yeah.
learn
Well,
on.
you and I both saw him in the same three, firsthand in Division 3.
Yeah,
I mean, you fished the opens in the past, right? Like, right?
yeah.
Not recently, but like to me, as somebody, this is the first time I've ever fished them, but just watching it, I feel like the level of competition in the opens in the last 5 years has gone through the roof.
Yeah, 100%. It ain't no doubt. I mean, and the competition, or just the talent level, is just so much better than it even used to be. And I'm looking up to my left over here. I got a couple pictures on the wall of a couple opens. I won a 2013 at the James River in Virginia, and then I won 2015 at Lake Oneida in New York. And those, there was locals that would get in all those every time. Of course, you had locals in them, but your overall group of anglers, you just didn't seem to have anybody that just stood out that often like you do now. And now you got
Yeah.
guys that are just all those young guys, and of course the technology age that we're in now makes it a lot different than then. Back then, everybody was still fishing with their eyes and their knowledge and their maps and all the stuff the way we all grew up fishing. Now they're coming in and they know the electronics right off the bat, and they don't have to have all the years of experience and the knowledge of the lake. You don't have to know much about the seasonal pattern or why they should be biting here or not. You just get out there and get in the right areas, start scoping around and see them and throw at them and catch them. That's how easy they make it look.
So you're only 222 tournaments behind Rick Clunn. So that's like what, like 12 years of fishing all the opens and elites, and you can be right there, Randy.
Wow, man, I don't. That's amazing. I didn't even know I was that close to him. Honestly, that's amazing. So, yeah, I wish, one thing I wish they would do, the Bass would do, and I don't think anybody on the tour would have a problem with this. They shouldn't have made him have to retire. Because he wouldn't retire. I don't think he would have retired, because I saw him a couple weeks ago at a Bass Pro event in Missouri, and you could just tell he was very distraught. He didn't look like he wanted to be done yet, and he
Mhm.
told me he was still going to be fishing. But I think they ought to have, like, even if they just made it a 50-year rule. So if you fish bass for 50 years, you can keep fishing as long as you want to. You don't have to requalify or whatever. I don't think anybody have a problem with that, and I don't think anybody will ever try to do it 50 years. I'm at 32, or I guess this might be overall, counting all my years now. This has been probably 31, 32 years. I just turned 51, and I started Bass Invitationals when I was 18 and made it for the top 100 when I was 19. So I'd have to fish till I'm I'd have to fish till I'm 70, I guess, 70 years old or so. Might could I mean, I actually could do it before. I probably could do it before he younger than he would be, I guess, if I did stay that long, because he's 77 or 78. I could probably do it by 71 or 72. But right now, it doesn't sound too appealing to me. My wife will definitely say no.
She's
Yeah,
listening.
Robin just said, yeah, she just popped on. She's watching 70 what? Yeah, we ain't gonna do it, Robin. It's all
Miles
right.
per hour? Sure, that's fine.
That's funny.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, it's tough. Um, but they kind of, and I guess there was a question. Uh, so with you coming with the legend exemption, do you get your past years? Like, do you come in clean? What have they told you about that?
Yeah, that's one thing I've got to ask and get more knowledge on, because I really don't know. I've heard just some of the stuff I've heard other anglers say is that your your good and your bad years, everything follows you because I remember hearing Gerald Swindle talk about on a video about Carl
Well,
Jacobson's bad season or something. They couldn't get it erased or whatever off after a certain number of years. So, I'm hoping I'll come in and I can pick right up and they'll give me all my years and all my stuff, put it back on there and we'll just start back from there. But I really don't know how that works. I've got to ask the questions about that, I guess, and see.
I think for you, it would work in your favor, right? Like, you were
Yeah.
a guy that made the classic way more than he didn't, so your
Yeah.
years are gonna look good on right? They're gonna weigh favorably for you, I would think.
Yeah, if they get, that's why I'd like for it to be that way. I don't really know how it'll be, but if they do, I didn't have many bad years there, and I had like 16 classic qualifications out of like 22 years or so, I think. So 21 years. So the man, and that was always the key in doing well in bass over the years. It's just not bombing or having bad years if you stayed in the middle of the road. And I never won a lot of tournaments, but I've been in the money in the top 50s uh, a lot. So that's hopefully that'll come into my favor and it'll be good because all I know is you definitely can't. You only have one exemption one time. So
Yeah.
points. Um, I think from what I might have hear right. I think I remember thought Jordan Lee might have said heard him say that you when the first year back you got to make it on the points yourself. So I think I might have to be in the top 70 or 75 the first year back, but I don't really know. I need to find that out and see.
Right, let's see here. Aaron says, "Do you miss the orange jumper and the gambler days?"
Yeah. Uh, I don't know what an orange jumper is. I know the gambler days. What's the orange jumper? Tell me
I
that.
don't know, did
Remind
you I don't
my
know.
memory. Let him tell us what that is. Yeah, the gambler days
There
though.
must
I
be a picture
definitely
of you in an orange I mean, I don't know. I mean, I
I
guess
stayed
everybody
in
used like, back in the days, like, when Rick Clunn started, right, everybody wore those, like, jumper full, like, suit things with patches on them. But
yeah, that was a little before me. Thankfully, I started in the patch and the vest era. I did have the vest era because they called me Patches. That was my nickname for a little while when I was a teenager. But uh, but I definitely I started in the game when I was a teenager and I had some good games. That game was a good riding boat, a good running boat back in the day. We just, especially back, I was a speed guy. I still love speed, and we had a 150 back then, so I had 150 Mercury on that Gambler, and they used to run like 70 miles an hour with a 150 on them, so that was always great.
yeah, got your audio a little bit, but the video is a little choppy.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So the boys are too old to be blaming them playing Fortnite in the background, so
Yeah, and I was playing Fortnite. Turn my podcast here and just let me take it off. Take it off.
I'm gonna just kinda bop Randy out for a second, see if that, helps at all. We were cruising along really good. Everything was working great. I might text him to see if I can, bump him out and bring him back in, see if that fixes things. It looks like he might be back now.
There we go. I don't know why I
Alright,
did that. Yeah,
that's
it's
alright.
good now. It should be better. I took it
Is
off the
Robin playing
Wi-Fi.
Candy Crush using all the Wi-Fi, or what's going on?
Yeah, I know she might be. That's why I turned the Wi-Fi off. I don't know.
Okay. Alright, I think we're good now. Got you cleared.
Yeah.
What's a couple things, so one of the things I wanted to ask is, so you're from North Carolina originally, right? That area?
Right. Hmm.
So do you know anything about the Pasquotank Albemarle Sound? Like, have you ever fished there? Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, believe it or not, I kind of grew up down in that down east area. My dad, I fished with my dad there in that region when I was a really little kid, all the way up till about probably 9 or 10 years old. We used to go down to Albemarle Sound, which was Roanoke River, the Chowan River, which is where we fished on Major League Fishing Tour that Drew Gill won this past year. Was the Chowan. People call it Chowan and all that, but it's the Chowan River for people that Eastern North Carolinians, and the Pasquotank River, and then you got uh, Little Washington down there, and you got the Roanoke River. All those rivers come in to that Albemarle Sound and then dump into the Atlantic Ocean right there at Kitty Hawk and um, down in Mans Harbor and those areas. So I grew up fishing down there a lot, but so long ago, I don't remember. I won't remember anything about it. All I know is when we went to Chowan this past year, I actually fished a Roanoke and I had a bad tournament. I don't know what happened, but they didn't bite like they did in practice, and I never did make the right adjustment, so I didn't do good. But that tournament's probably going to be a really good one because every time I've been, like when we were there, as soon as the tournament was over and we could talk to people, no information rules. So after it was over, I was talking to a bunch of local boys down there and just were saying, man, in Major League Fishing, you couldn't go past that bridge. That bridge, we had it off limits on this bridge because of the connectivity for the score tracker. And they said all the
Sure.
best fishing was on the other side of that bridge, and that's where the Bassmaster tournament is going to be, is on the other side of that bridge, is on that river. So I feel like it's going to be a sleeper that a lot of people probably won't know what to expect and won't be any history to go off out there. And that's probably going to be a really, really good one. And it's going to be in April, and April's good anywhere in the Southeast. So that's probably going to be a big time weight deal. And it'll all be a good old shallow river, cypress trees and logs and laydowns, dirty water, spinner bait, kind of old school fishing. I'm sure they'll still scope the cypress trees and see them before they catch them, but you don't have to do that. You won't get beat if you don't do that or something, so it'll be good.
Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, if kind of fast forward here with the new open format, I don't know if you studied it much, but assuming
Hmm.
Laker finishes in the top 50 in one of the divisions or both divisions that he finishes, which I think is pretty likely. Lakers been doing all right. Like I don't think that's a high barrier. Then he would potentially be fishing the three EQ tournaments, which the Elite Series pros are eligible to fish. Have you put? I mean, obviously the schedule's not out, but have you thought about the EQs and whether you would? And you seem like a guy that would like fishing in the fall and throwing a buzz bait and a whopper plopper and a walking bait and chat that kind of stuff. So, is that on your
Yeah.
radar at all?
It really hasn't been. I kind of thought once I got in the elite side, I'll have 9 events to focus on, and that'll probably be enough. But I'm not going to say no to it once that schedule comes out. And, if there were 4 that fit in pretty well and I felt good about it, we'd try to jump in there and do it. I don't know, but I don't know. I still doubt it though, because that's 4. Then if you make it
It'd
into
just
that
be the
other,
I
you
was
got
talking about
3 more.
the three the elite guys, from my understanding, can fish the three EQ events without fishing the opens.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Huh.
there's going to be basically a September and October, November tournament, the EQs and so both the guys that are being, I don't know if you want to call it relegated, will fish it to try to stay in if they want. But any of the elite guys, what they didn't say in the press release is, do you have to fish them all, or can you just fish one? Or so
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah.
See,
So
I
you
didn't
won't
even
have to fish
understand it
the
that way.
opens to fish the EQs. So
Dang, well, I might do that then because especially if there'll be later in the year and the most of the elite schedule will be over with, I definitely might be looking at that. So,
it
and there are
absolutely
no
will be after
co-anglers.
the elites are over,
Yeah, that'd be
because
good.
it's designed that after you guys finish St. Clair, anybody that's below that lifetime average, below 70th, those 9 or 10 people have the chance to fish those EQs and basically get back in without having to go through the opens again.
Oh, I didn't understand. I didn't
So they
realize that.
basically
That's a
take
good.
the guys that are falling down, and then the top 50 from each, and then they basically the elite guys can fish it as extra tournaments to extend their season.
I wonder how many will be in that then. So it won't just be 100 in then. It'll be the 100 that make it out of the regular opens and then however many more.
So
Hmm.
yeah, in theory, assuming, I mean, you're probably not going to get 50 and 50, but you get pretty close, right? So you're going to have probably 90 to 100 guys at the opens. And I guess we don't know double qualifiers, all that kind of stuff. So let's say 80 to 100 from the opens, and you're probably almost certainly going to have the 10 guys that, right? Most of them are going to take
Mm-hmm.
their shots at it, and then how many elite guys will take advantage of that to be determined. So I would say it's going to be somewhere between 90 and 150.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad I watched your show tonight to learn something. I learned that now. I didn't even know that myself, so I'm gonna have to look into
So
that.
in
That's
theory,
interesting.
you and Laker could be fishing the same tournaments at the end of the year.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. I would just hate to be somebody that got in there and kept somebody like that from
Yeah,
qualifying.
it doesn't interfere with their
So it won't.
points. No.
Okay.
I mean,
It's even better then.
yeah, you wouldn't be pushing any like I think your status would count towards points, right? Like within a tournament, but you wouldn't be
Hmm.
displacing anybody trying to recall. You wouldn't be. It's not like the BPT
Uh,
where if you finish, like you're not part of that. I guess so. Bassmaster like goes down the list. I think so.
okay. Okay. That's cool then. Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. That's probably really good. I may look into that.
This shows you how much the pros actually read the articles on what's going on.
Yeah, I was so much thought thinking that I was not fishing any more opens that
Yeah,
I didn't really even read it a lot. All I read
sure,
was the 50-50 and the
right.
last tournaments. I just thought it was just for those guys. I didn't know that. So
So I guess one of the things I met Randy a long time ago when I was probably 20, I don't know, 22, 23, 24, somewhere in there. I don't know. Probably less than
how old are you
25,
now?
45.
You're 45. Okay. So yeah,
So
so
I don't know.
yeah,
I guess it was what 2006. What was the first year of the elites? 2005, something like that.
yeah, yeah. I think it was 6 when they called them the elites. Yeah. And I knew you from knowing your already knowing your dad, and then because I've met them before. Me and Robin were trying to talk earlier about when we met Wayne and Joni. So those that don't know, his dad Wayne Lingren and me became good friends. I felt like it was like 20 years ago because when we camped in the camper at Amistad beside them and met them for the first time, and my boys were in one was in a stroller and Laker was real young, so they had to be Laker's 23, so it had to be nearly 20 years ago, and got to be good friends with Wayne and Joni and eat with them, and Wayne just a great guy, and her and what Joni both, and back then in those days you only had a 30-day off limit, so you could talk to people, go fishing, do whatever you wanted. It was pretty laid back up to that 30-day off limits. So when the tournament was over, I stayed an extra day or two, and I went fishing with Wayne. He showed me around Lake Amistad, and then I remember the next time, one winter I flew back down there, and he picked me up. We went, I think, fun fishing and caught some fish, and he taught me a lot about fishing that Texas Mexico border lakes. And then a few years after that, it deteriorated, and then Falcon became the big lake, and same deal there. I went to Falcon and fished with him and learned a little bit about that. So we had good friendship for a lot of years, and I knew you were fishing and doing a lot, and I met you, I know, a time or two when we would finally come up there to La Crosse or up to that northern region when you were in those areas fishing too. So we go way back, man. Time goes by fast. I know I hadn't seen Wayne in a long time, and so I'm glad he's still kicking and catching bass.
He's more of a professional crappie and reddier fisherman now. Like he likes
Is
to.
he?
Ma and Dad like to chase crappies, and then they've been going out to Havasu the last couple of years to catch big red ears.
Oh, they've been doing that now, going out there.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, those things are huge, man. Yeah, I've got pictures of Laker and Oakley when we fished out there. I hooked them up when I fished a bass event there. A guy I knew there took Laker and Oakley out, and they caught those giant ones like that. I've still got pictures on my phone.
Mhm.
They're the biggest looking brim I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Cool. So one thing I was actually like doing a little research on the YouTube channel, just kind of looking for ideas and stuff and talking about, it, and I was like, now that Bassmaster's back, what are your thoughts about bringing back the love seat?
We're doing it.
Yeah.
Robin, you got that? You still listening, Robin? We're bringing back the love say. Say yes. Say yes right now with this emoji right here. All right, hands up. Because we've been wanting to do this for a while. JJ Patton said I almost missed the whole thing. Come on, Jay, you
All
got to
right.
work too much. There's Robin.
She's
I
in.
got you. Yeah, we're in. That's the goal. We got George now. Our dog George, traveling with us. So it'll be Randy, Robin, and George. We won't have no kids hanging on our shoulders anymore. And but we are gonna bring the love seat back and start doing some fun stuff. I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, it's funny. I clicked on one of them. It was one you did from your house. It wasn't in the camper, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it was Lake or Oakley. It was in the background, like, in the stairwell, and then he was, like, holding up the big head from, just, like it was pretty funny, so
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, we had some good times in that. Yeah, man, it's like Jim just says, always love watching Love Seat. So it's we really had a good time with that. I'm telling you, and it kind of started so simple. Really, it kind of started from just kind of making fun of guys that were doing these boring tournament updates. It was kind of like
mhm.
the first year it started on tour, when social media was just kind of getting rolling big, and all of a sudden, we clicked through here, and I know the first night there's Edwin Evers and Jason Christie rooming together, and they did the first little tournament update, and Edwin's tired and Jason's tired, and he's like, "Well, I caught him on with spinnerbait, and how about you? How about you, Jason?" And Jason's like, "Uh, I don't know, caught jig maybe and buzz bait." And it was kind of like so dry and boring that like I was like, we need to have a little fun with this, Robin. We need to just go ahead do our own little tournament update, and we'll just be stupid, And we started doing it. Before you know it, it turned into a. Everywhere we go, people were like, "Man, I like watching this." And the cool thing, it was getting a lot of women, girlfriends, moms, and wives, and people watching with their husbands, and that was what was kind of funny, saying that, "Hey, my wife." She hates fishing, but she loves to watch your videos. I'll show her your videos on your love seat, and she'll end up watching it with me. So it's kind of cool. So maybe we brought a little entertainment into the serious world of bass fishing. We're gonna try to do it some more.
You
Yeah,
really
they're
haven't
still
veered
up
from
there
the
too.
haircut since then, like, you've stayed very
Nah,
consistent.
yeah, you're right. You can't do much with this hair, man. You just got to keep cutting it the same. If you let it grow out, it's like I don't know what it would try to look like. And if you let it grow too much, it looks like a chia pet. It just goes taller and taller, and it would just blossom. I don't think it would ever go down. So we just got to stick with it. That's my trademark now.
Yeah, the thing I noticed when I was at Leach when I ran into Robin is that Randy seems to get older, but Robin stays the same age, so that's.
That's right. That's right. She does. She keeps me young, man. She keeps me, and she shouldn't keep. She should stop aging now more because she's got less headaches since Laker and Oakley are out of the house now. Oakley just went to college at Alabama. We were down there last weekend to at the ball game, watched a football game with them, and saw him get finished up getting into fraternity, ATO fraternity, and so he's all in down there. So we don't have as many headaches now. Hopefully he's taking care of himself, doing pretty good. So we should be able to hit the road and start getting serious. Try to do well in tournaments and get back in the classic and be consistent and be relevant. That's the biggest thing at my age of doing this many years.
Mhm.
We got to be relevant. We got to get back into conversation, into highlights. There's a lot of great anglers out there and a lot of young talent. Um, but there's no reason that shouldn't be able to be as good as I've ever been or better. I've got more knowledge than I've ever had in my head. It's no reason. So it's all up here. This is the mind. You know how tournament fishing is, just confidence. And if in confidence, if you get on the right roll with the right belief and the right confidence and the right people surrounding you, um, you can really do great things in the same way. If you get in a downward spiral of confidence and you don't believe and you might start making bad decisions and you surround yourself with negativity and other people that make it, that are going through the same thing and drag you down, man, you can spiral right down and defeat yourself really easily in this sport. So we got to do the right things to try to stay positive and fish hard and keep learning. And I think it'll all work out.
Yeah. It just reminds me, like, 'cause I was down there those first couple of years, and the one year I fished as a co-angler, and I just had this memory of you, like, doctoring up a bone white pointer at Amistad,
Oh
like, taking a
yeah.
Sharpie marker, putting, like, red gills on it, and putting a red hook on the front, and, like
Uh-huh.
and, like,
And
my
I caught
dad's,
a
like,
ten
trying
and a
to
half
convince
pounder
you to,
on that.
like throw a plastic, and you're like, I don't really like to drag. I think I'm gonna catch them on a jerkbait.
Yeah, that's the one I caught, that 10.5 pounder that year.
Yeah,
And I did. I caught it on a pointer, but it was on I think it was on that brim color or perch color one or whatever,
sure.
back then. But yeah, that was my biggest bass that I'd ever caught in a tournament at the time, 10-8. And that same day, Greg Hackney caught an 11 pounder, and I didn't even get big fish that day. So, but that fish over my shoulder, over that shoulder right there, that's the picture. That's the 12 pound, 14 ouncer I caught a couple years ago in Louisiana at that MLF. So that's the one record I'm leaving MLF with, is that I still got the biggest bass ever caught in any of their tournament competition. That's like the only record that Jacob Wheeler doesn't hold right there. So I'm glad to have one. I got one. I got one on him anyway. Maybe that one will stand for a while.
At least positive record. I'm sure Watson's
Yeah.
got some other records like fines and things like that. But
Yeah. Yeah, he just said Caney
uh,
Creek and Bussy Break. Yeah, that's where I caught the
yeah,
10-8. 10-8, 10, the 10-11 was on Caney Creek, and then the 12-14 was on Bussy Break.
Jay Hayes wants to know how much weight did you weigh your fish on day 2 at Lacrosse? Did you have them all on the Bubba or the Rapala scale or?
No, I weighed them in. I had they were 16.8, I think, is what I weighed. I weighed in that day, even though it didn't count.
Okay.
So it put me in. I was in third place, 9 ounces out of first when it was all over on that second day. Had my weight counted, so that was the biggest disappointment I've had in a lot of years. So I still feel like I had a chance to win that one better than I ever had. I mean, it was really disappointing getting locked out, and I'm hoping this year when Bass goes back, I'm going to talk to Lisa Talmadge, tournament director, and some of them, and see if they can do anything different. Like the days when you remember when we fished there years ago. A lot of times, I've made the top 10 cut 4 times there, and when Trip Weldon was tournament director, and Trip had a had a set time for the barge, had a set barge schedule every morning and every afternoon. You had a guaranteed 8 o'clock or 7:30, 8 o'clock, where everybody could go at one time. And then it might be 1:30. It was pretty early, but it was a guaranteed one time. And if you went outside of that, you gambled your time, you could still do it. And I did that multiple times and was always okay. But you still had that one time that you knew for sure, and they already had preset it with the bar, with the lock masters and all that, and then it worked for years and never had any trouble like that. So I think the Open is just so big, um, that Hank probably couldn't get them to do that with that many people and that big of a spread. But I'm hoping with a 100 boat field, maybe Bass will be able to do something there, because if they're going to allow you to fish 7, 8, and 9, it's too much money and too
Yeah.
much on the line to have something happen like happened to me, because it cost me at least $10,000, if not could have been 50,000. But because I think 16.5, 17 pounds was a pretty much a given to catch, on this one spot I was catching so many numbers on. And if I had a great day, you could have caught 19. I would have had to have a 18, 14 would have won the tournament for me that last day. After doing the math. So anyway, I'm excited about getting to go back there and have another chance. And hopefully things will work out a little better. Maybe we'll get some revenge on it, and we'll be back on the show to talk about it.
Yeah, I saw it on the I was on the upper end in 7, and I had a light enough draw that, but I got to see all the people, dumping their fish, and they already missed their time and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was kind of a
Yeah. Yeah, it's disappointing on both ends, since it happened to some guys on 7 and 9 both. And but I don't know if anybody else would have made the top 10 cut out of the ones that I heard
yeah.
about. I don't know for sure.
Brad Leitner definitely would have made the top 10.
Oh,
He had
Leitner,
the
that's
weight.
who you were talking about.
Yeah,
Okay. Was he on
I don't know,
7?
but yeah,
Okay. I remember hearing that name. Okay.
he had about similar weight to you, and he was up there the first day. So
Yeah, and then I heard it happened on the BFL 2 day the next weekend there too, right? They didn't get the lock through the second day. Is what my buddy Tony, because Tony had 19 something the first day, and then he said a barge held the lock up all morning, and he never got the lock back to 9 again. So, um, and I guess it's something just happens a lot, but it's and you get to the level of the high level paying tournaments, and especially paying, $2,000 entry fees and up, but a $5,300 Elite Series entry fee, a lot on the line. The tourism people and the barge people and the Corps of Engineers, they can all work together to make a little priority for us. We are commercial as well, don't you think? We should be called commercial, I think, because we're fishing for money, and they're them guys are already riding 5 miles an hour. And what's the difference in them holding them up for 30 minutes to lock some bass boats through there? They should be able to wait 30 more minutes if you let them know way ahead of time that it's going to happen. I feel like that would be doable.
Yeah, I'm sure they see it differently. But
Yeah,
so
I'm
I actually
sure they
did
do.
find out that some of the lower pools where the fishing sucks, like 13, 14, or 14, 15, 16, they have a commercial lock and a pleasure lock.
Yeah, TVA has that too. Yeah,
Okay.
like Gunnersville here, they've got a barge lock and they've got a pleasure boat lock, and I think quite a few of the TVA lakes are the same way.
Hmm, goodness.
And
Um,
pool eight down there at LaCroix, down there, Genoa, is that called Genoa? Pool
8
eight.
into 9.
Yeah, yeah. They've got that other lock right there that never was finished and opened and used. And I know one of the guys on the lock wall told me this year that whenever they built that originally, that they never finished it and opened it up, but it was supposed to be a two-part lock where it was going to be a
Hmm,
commercial side and a pleasure boat side, but they didn't do it.
yeah. Actually, my first BFL top 5 was I benefited from the lock because I got down early and then Brigham didn't get down in the lock. So,
Oh, yeah.
but
You played it right.
yeah.
Robin, what are you saying, Robin? Ask him how his flat top started. What is she saying that for? Then he just
Don't
said,
know.
how did your flat top become? Okay, it started. I went to a Christian school in North Carolina. Me and Robin, that's where we met. So, a Christian school. I was a rebellious kid for a little while when I was like seventh, eighth grade, and that was the year that the mullets were kind of getting big in the South, and the rat tail. You remember the rat tail?
Sure.
Was that in the North? Did they have that, the rat
I
tail,
mean, I
where you
remember
had
I
that?
never did it, but yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
so had the rat tail in the little V shape. You never cut a V in the back of your hair with a rat tail. So I told my mom, I had straight hair, blonde straight hair. I told my mom that she took me to get a haircut, and so I told the barber that I wanted a V and a rat tail. He said, "You sure your mom look okay with it?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. It's just good." So he cuts it, and she picks me up. And she was like, "What did you do?" And then, "There's no way you can go to school with that haircut. I'm gonna have to take you back." I'm like, "No, everybody's doing it." I get back to school the next day. The first thing, they take me to the principal's office, call my mom, tell her I have bad hair. I can't have this haircut at this school. So she takes me back to the barber shop, and that's the only way he could fix it, was to cut it all off. And that's where my flat top began. So that's where they cut all the hair off and cut the V out and kind of started a flat top. And the rest is history. It's stayed with me all my life since then.
That's
There you
awesome.
go, Robin.
Uh, that's a good question from Jim. He says, with all the years you've been with Triton, have you ever been part of the design, feedback, any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I have a whole lot of times over the years. A lot of the years, especially, really, especially the last several years since White River and Bass Pro has owned it. A lot of the stuff, the TRX boat, that I won the classic out of 2014 boat. That was the first year that boat came out, and I had a lot of input on that one, just about the wider deck and the wider top cap and some of the features in that, um, were just ideas. And then the big XRT boat that I ran 2 years in a row up to this year, that's the widest deck of any bass boat ever. The upper part of that deck, and some of the stuff on that was a few of the just ideas of me, not just me, but me and several other guys, and obviously but this XP boat this year, the 20 XP and the 21 XP, I've been telling them for the last 5 years that they needed to really go back to the roots of the speed and the performance of Triton was built on performance. and they had gotten bigger and heavier and riding good, but they had kind of gotten a little bit away from the high performance side. So they started looking at a lot of the chat boards and Triton pages, and you're hearing so much talk about all the old HP hulls, the old high performance hulls, and so everybody loved those boats. Back into 2005 to 2010 era was a really good era of Triton with speed. So they had those molds. They took that same mold and brought it back and resurrected it basically to make this XP boat. They didn't keep it exactly like it was, but they brought that mold to life, and then they just retooled it and made it and kind of tweaked it a little bit, made a little bit wider pad on that same deep V with that little tunnel on the bottom of that deep V, and then adding that top cap wider, and then kind of putting some of the little bit of the Ranger design, some of the Ranger compartment lids and things like that, and brought this boat together. And I'm telling you, it's the best riding one in the waves I've ever had of all. I mean, it cuts the waves really, really smooth. It doesn't have a hard hit to it when you hit waves. It cuts, it kind of slices them. And so I've been real impressed with it. I believe this is going to be the boat that's going to be huge for Triton in the next 5 years. I don't see much changing other than just making more models out of that same hull. But this hull is the deal for real.
Nice. That's cool. All right. So we're pretty close to an hour. I'm going to take a 1-minute break. We're going to come back and get a couple fall fishing tips out of you, whether it's cranking or top water. And so
Okay.
if you guys got any questions for Randy that we didn't hit on, get those ready in the chat and we'll get back to him in a minute here.
Yeah, we're good.
Are you ready to reel in your next home purchase or refinance? Supreme Lending's Dream Team can help guide you through the entire mortgage process, from pre-qualification to closing. We have a wide variety of home loan programs in our tackle box, including down payment assistance and first-time homebuyer options. You can ask HellaBass. He trusted us to help finance his home. Contact the Dream Team today by searching Supreme Lending Dream Team, or click the link below in the description, or scan the QR code on your screen.
All right, we're back. Thanks for the Dream Team supporting the show. He's a bass angler just like the rest of us. So those of you that, I
Cool.
think the interest rates are dropping. So if people need refis out there, now's the time.
Yeah.
So Jay's got a question here. Are you a big sea rig guy? What are you like Matt Pangrack? You hate the sea rig, it's a necessary evil. Where do you land on the sea rig controversy?
No, I'm all right with a Carolina rig, man. I'll tie one on probably every couple months or so, and throw it and drag it around kind of fast. And I mean, I fish it a little bit, probably more than a lot of guys still, but I fish it fast. I don't fish it real slow a lot. I use it to cover a lot of water kind of quick. Throw a 3/4 ounce weight on it, and and something moving pretty quick with it. I throw a Cinco on it a lot, and I used to throw the speed crawl on it a lot, and now Yamamoto's got a crawl that has a good kicking legs to it, the Yama crawl. So that same type deal that you can kind of speed rig it, I call it, where you don't really let it ever hardly hit the
Mhm.
bottom, just fast, moving it pretty quick. And I catch a lot of fish on it. So yeah, I'm not opposed to throwing it. It's not as bad as some people make it out to be, the ball and chain.
There you go. Eric Alstrom says he will never forget Randy Howell putting a chair on top of a table, climbing and doing Bill Dance and Davey Height impressions at a Bass University seminar in Minneapolis back in the day. Do you
Oh
remember this?
yeah, it kind of come back as soon as I started reading that. I kind of saw myself doing that. I don't know what made me do that day. I was pretty brave, I guess. Um, yeah, I did. I've always done a lot of impersonations of a lot of other pros. They just never knew about it. I never did it anytime. Never let them
It
know
never
about
made
it.
it
Only
onto
one.
social media.
Yeah, we didn't have social media as big and around that time, and one that I used to do a lot, in the latter years was Aaron Martin's. Me and Aaron were good friends, and I would do Aaron, and man, Aaron would get so mad at me. He would get so mad. He would grab me, he'd come up behind me, and grab me around my neck, and start choking me out and telling me You don't sound like me. You don't sound like me. I don't sound like that at all. I don't sound like that. He was like, you don't sound like, I don't, if I sounded like that, I'd quit fishing. I would never fish again if I sounded like that. You're an idiot, man. He would get to telling me that all the time. He never liked when I'd impersonate him. So, we've had some fun with it. Anyway, we might bring some of that stuff back one day
So
too.
maybe that's a wrinkle for the love seat.
Yeah, it might
You could do
be.
his impersonations on the love seat every now and then. Put
Yeah,
that in the
we can
notebook,
make
Robin.
We can just put that in a notebook right now. We can do like a question, pose a question like the week before on social media and just say, let's start voting on who you'd like to hear Randy try to impersonate on next week's episode of Love Seat. We could do that. How about that? I just don't know if I can how many people I can do. I can only do the ones that are really, you know, that really have a strong noted, there you go, that only have a strong accent of some type. So, and I don't know if anybody can do me. I've got a hard accent. So I don't know if I've ever heard anybody do me or not.
Yeah, maybe you can maybe you can work on your Matt Robertson, maybe some of the other elite pros that have maybe a Gussie. Maybe you can work on a Gussie. You got some material to work with this year.
Yeah, I got to start studying up and listening to these guys now, and kind of get to know them all. Because it's gonna be like going back. It's gonna be like going to a new school. It's like going back to a new high school or something, and having to learn and get to know all these people again. I still know a lot of people, but there's a lot of new guys that are newer that I don't know. So I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of these guys because man, there's so many good talents out there now. It's just really impressive. So I'm excited.
JD Major said he just took a pic in front of Randy's bridge.
Hmm. It's good. It's a lot of people at
Um,
that bridge. And it's never been that good again. And it's like in my life, I've been there multiple times. I live 2 miles from that bridge now, so I cross that bridge multiple times a day when I'm in town. And I don't know if I've ever been across it honestly, and during the daylight that it wasn't a boat on one side or the other, a boat. It's always somebody fishing there. So the fish, I don't think the fish have ever had a chance to set up and get there good again since then.
all right. So walking bait
Walking bait.
preference: loop knot, direct tie, or split ring.
So walking bait, just talking about them this afternoon. Laker had a guide trip this afternoon, and they caught some good ones. And he had a 12-year-old kid and his dad, and the kid caught a 655 on the new Livingston's got a new plopper, like a whopper plopper bait, and Laker hadn't even he just had gotten the test ones out and tied one on and threw it out first cast and caught a 3-pounder on it. So he gave the kid the rod and let him start throwing it, and immediately that kid caught a big one on it. And then Laker was catching them on a walking ball. So walking balls Livingston makes is two of the best top waters is the walking boss and the walking boss junior, and the smaller junior size has two treble hooks and the big walking boss has three. And but it's just basically spook type bait, walking baits, but the balance on them are really good, not just an average bait because it's got a battery and a sound chip, lithium battery and all that weight and balances in the tail of that bait, so it sits, instead of flat, it sits pretty heavy in the tail.
Sure.
So when you cast it, it spirals like a football. You can cast it a mile on braid. I throw it on my 7.4 Signature Series Tattoo Elite big top water rod and bladed jig rod, and you can walk it really hard and aggressive, or you can slow it down and just slosh, and you can make it turn all the way around in one spot. It's a really easy bait to walk, and it has the sound of the electronic bait fish sound chirping in it. So anytime you stop it, if they blow it up and don't get it, if you just let it sit there, most of the time they'll come back and just suck it down. That's what is really good about top water with the sound technology and that. But those are my two favorite, and I tie them straight to the line tie, no split ring or snap or anything, and never have a problem at all with it. Don't need a loop knot at all on that braid when you're throwing straight braid on a good walking bait like that. Only time I'll tie a loop knot is when I'm throwing a walking pop, like they've got a popper 67 and a 77 walking pop, and I'll tie that loop knot on that, and I'll tie that with a I'll usually have that braid tied to a mono leader, and I'll have like a little short about a little 12 to 16 inch at 20-pound test mono leader because it floats and it's thick and it's stiff. And then I'll put that little loop knot on there just so it can walk and be free to pop and walk. And then the hook doesn't hang up every time it moves forward. If you have straight braid on there, that braid will hook that front treble hook real easy and drive you nuts. That's why I use that leader with that loop knot on that. But on the walking bait, walking ball straight tie, that's all you need. The other walking bait is called a Walking Boss Part 2, and it's got a broken tail, broke back, broke tail, same body with a broke tail, and it's got a jitterbug style lip. And it's a plastic, ABS plastic lip, just like the old jitterbug days, but it's got a deep cup, and they got a junior and a regular size in that. And that one is a bad bait too. You can just reel it straight braid, just reel it slow or fast, and it just goes side to side and it splashes water. Man, it's a killer on smallmouth and spotted bass too, a lot.
True or false? The key to that mono leader is the old yellow box Stren 20 pound.
You're right. It really is. I mean, I honestly, did I tell you that story about
I
that
listened
old
to the
line?
Bass You that you did last week, I
You heard me
think.
tell. Okay, I wonder where I told that. I don't remember telling that. But yeah, it was it was Duratup. It was Stren
But
Duratup, yellow black box. I still got it. And that's still in my boat. I bet that line has got to be, it's got to be close to 20 years old. And you cannot break it. And it's still the best. So I just keep using it. No more than I have to use it, I'll just keep using it.
so if somebody wins the boat from this stream, you're going to pull off 2 arms length of that mono for them so they can have that as their leaders for their top waters.
Yep, 2 arm lengths, cut it, put it down in the rod locker for them, right?
Yeah, there you go. AJ says he wants to thank you for designing his favorite drop shot rod. So that must be one of the Tatula drop shot.
Hey, that's good. Yeah, it's a 7.3 medium, and it's my drop shot shaky head rod. And that is a great, it's got the right bend to it, and it's just a perfect setup for me. And I mean, Brent Ayler's got the 7 foot, 7.1 rod, but I like that little bit longer tip for me, especially on the long cast.
All right. So let's say scenario here. Going into fall, mid south to south, you're going into last week October, first couple weeks of November. What are the first three rods on the deck?
Um, Top water's that first one. I'm gonna have that walking boss on. I'm gonna probably have 2 on, a regular, regular size, bigger
He's
one, and then a
already
small
breaking the
one.
rules.
Huh? Can't have 3. Why you gotta just have 3? Why does everybody want to limit everything?
Your
Let's say
first 3.
5.
Not you can have the other walking bait, but it's probably not
Okay.
going to be in your first 3. But okay, go ahead.
Okay, first 3, then I'll have that one of them, and then I'll have my Howler square bill, which is it runs about, it's a real shallow diving square bill that has a real aggressive wobble to it. It's got a circuit board lip, and he can, that's a bait I cover a lot of water with because you can reel it fast. It's not just a normal square bill. It's kind of a flat running bait more than a down running bait. So it's similar to an old baby 1 minus, but it goes just
Mhm.
about 3 feet instead of 1 foot. And I can throw that around wood and just schools of shad and flats and pockets and stuff like that. And then, boy, that third one's going to be a tough one, man. It's hard to, I still want to have a spinnerbait on because I'm old school, but more times than not, the chatterbait ends up
Sure.
outproducing the spinnerbait. That always does. And so maybe having that chatterbait on, and one that I use a lot now. I don't talk about a lot. I'm not sponsored by them at all or anything, but the Mini Max, that small
Mm.
chatterbait, and they made a really good bait when they made that, 'cause it's got a you lose my sound? You still hear me?
No, you're good.
Okay. Sound like my sound went out. That little bait, they made a really good hook on that bait. So it's not like a finesse bait. It's just small, but it's got a good power hook on it. And you can put that little Seiko Yamamoto 3-inch trailer on that thing. And that's a bad little bait. I'll catch a lot of fish on that in the fall. So that's
Nice.
3. You
And then
said
I
that
guess,
was my first 3.
yeah, where are you going on the lake? Are you where are you going, and like are you going middle of the pocket, back of the pocket, working in? Like what are some tips for people to get on bass quick this time of year?
I still run straight back all the way far back to start with, and I work out. Sometimes people start out and work in, but if I'm running around to a new lake, like especially these events where we go the MLF, these cup events in the fall, and the one I'm actually going to, this will be my last MLF event, is coming up in Texas, and it's going to be live stream. It's that MLF Team Series, October 25th through 29th. Nick LeBrun from Louisiana is my partner, so I'm excited. Nick LeBrun is one of the hottest guys on the tour right now. Catches them really good, so I'm excited to be a team partner with him. Uh, but what I'll do wherever we go in those lakes, multiple times in those September, October, November places, I'll run straight to the backs of the creeks and look for the shad right off the bat. And that's the biggest key. If you run back in a creek and you see the bait fish flickering on the surface, um, I'll go ahead and put the trolling motor down and start dirt shallow and throw at every piece of wood, every ball of shad. Just start, covering water with the top water, buzz bait, plopper, walking bait, and then, spinner bait, chatter bait, and a square bill. Uh, and even a lipless bait, a pro ripper, a little bit of quarter ounce lipless bait, and just work my way out. And sometimes if you catch fish right away, the fall, there's always way more fish in an area than you realize, than you really think, because just like me, everybody does that. Everybody goes to the back of a creek. But if I go in there at 6:30 in the morning and I get 5 or 6 bites real quick and I get out of there, and you get in there at 7:30 and the bites quit, you roll through there and you don't catch any, and you think, bait fishing here, but it's no fish in here. I've done this 100 times, and you leave and you don't realize it's even any good. And then throughout the day, other people come and go, nobody catches them, and all of a sudden they turn on, midday. A lot of times they get active, they start feeding, and then somebody rolls in there at 1 o'clock and catches 3 or 4, and then it's like, man, that's why you get 5 people show up in the back of that creek on tournament morning, because that's how it worked in practice. But where I really like it better is when they're not really in the back and they're not in the mouth, but they're kind of in the mid zone, and that's where they get passed up a lot, because a lot of people go straight to the back, and they're not there. They run out and go somewhere else, and they don't even mess with the center or the middle of those creeks. So those little secondary points, them little bitty pockets that lead up to that big tail end of the ditch at the back of the creek channel. And so just look for that wood, shallow, suspended. Fish don't sit on the bottom a lot in the fall. I think they're always up high in the water column. They're roaming. We learn more of that now from forward facing sonar. You can see how shallow fish really stay up. I was on Guntersville yesterday I went fishing for about 3 hours, because I haven't fished in a couple of weeks. And as soon as I got out there, there was a bunch of fish schooling 8 or 10 feet deep in grass, down there. And I'd shine out there and never see any fish down there where I used to fish at. I would used to try to fish the grass line down deeper on the edges of that grass. And I look out there now, and everything out there is swimming up here 2 or 3, 4 feet deep, on top of just swimming around under the bait fish everywhere. They're never down there where I used to fish them. So most of the time my bait would go through them and go down, and that's why you wouldn't catch any a lot of times. And now when you know where they're at, because of forward-facing sonar, you can throw the baits to stay in that strike zone, and you get more success that way too. So it's definitely helped fall fishing too, even in the shallows, not just for deep water.
Absolutely. Tim says Randy was guiding up the road here at Gassa when he was young. He said, I don't know if it was 12, but it was pretty young, he said.
It really was, man. It was 11 years old. I appreciate that, Tim. Yeah, I was actually 11 years old when I started guiding my first guide trip, and my dad had a money back guarantee. He said, hey, if my son takes you out, I know he's young. If you don't catch any fish, you don't have to pay. So never had to give anybody their money back. We always caught something, and that's how I learned to fish and learned to try to help catch fish on demand, and did that on Lake Gaston from 12 years old, 11, 12 years old, all the way to I was, about 19 or so. And I started guiding on Bugs Island, Virginia side on that lake, Kerr Lake, start when I was 16, and I was old enough to drive over there. And I started driving there and fishing Redman tournaments and all that. So, yeah, it's a good old days, man. That's a long time ago. It's amazing how time's flown by.
Ryan was did you
Yeah,
win a
floating
tournament
worm.
floating worm?
I did. What the floating worm was kind of my that was kind of my that was what I was known for and on Lake Gaston was floating worm, and that was before the Cinco came out. You know, the Cinco
Right.
came out. I don't know what year it was, but all I know is the floating worm, man, that dominated on Gaston and Kerr and Lake Norman and all the Carolina lakes and even Virginia lakes. I won Smith Mountain, my first Redman tournament I ever won was on Smith Mountain, Virginia. Um, and that was a floating worm back then. And then down there, then I would take that technique and go everywhere when 18 to about 23 years old and catch them everywhere I went. And then as soon as the Cinco came out, it's like nobody ever threw the floating worm anymore. And I got hundreds of pounds of floating worms in duffel bags in my garage, and I can't get rid of them. I'll still take them with me and I'll still try them, but they never they never worked as good as a Cinco to me after that. So I still just use a Cinco now. But I do use a bubblegum Cinco a lot. And my Robin's favorite is a bubblegum Cinco. She catches them every time we go somewhere. That's what makes me throw it because she proves how good it still works. And I'll throw that Texas rig and I'll bite that a lot in the spring and especially in stained water.
Very cool. Well, I think we've hit a natural part. There's a few questions, but I appreciate you coming on. Look forward to seeing you in Florida in February. So it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, man, it sure will. St. John's, that right? St. John's River.
In
Hopefully
Okeechobee. Yep.
they'll have all the hopefully the storm damage wasn't bad in that area. I don't really know if it was. I hadn't heard much about it, but hopefully they'll have it all together and everything will be good to go there and we can get started in Florida. It shouldn't be no shortage of water. So we ought to have
Yeah.
plenty of water in the lake. Maybe Okeechobee will be full this time. It's low last time I was there. So I'm excited about it, man, and I really appreciate you having me on here tonight and talking about it and look forward to the future. I'll be watching you go catch them in that natty down there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Grand Lake, Oklahoma. And don't be scared to fish shallow there. All right.
I'm not afraid.
I don't know if it's not off limits or not. I don't know if you can talk about it or not, but
It is
it'll
off
be.
limits, but I think
Oh, it
we're in a
is. So
public forum, and I don't think that was too specific. I think,
okay. I won't say nothing else then.
uh,
All right.
but
That's
yeah,
good.
if you guys came in late, go back to the beginning. We talked about the King's Home and the chance to win the Triton and make a donation to a good cause. So appreciate you coming on, Randy. I'll probably hang on to ask a few questions, but I'll let you go and you can spend some time with Robin tonight and start preparing for your elites.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate it. We're going to be hustling. Y'all be watching that live coming up here next week, 25th through the 29th at that Major League Cup event. Hopefully, I need me one of those trophies for that case before I'm leaving. That's my last chance right there. So we got to try to at least get something. So we'll see. Appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate you. Take it easy. Thanks,
Thank
Randy.
you, guys. See y'all later. Bye.
All right. That was Randy. Appreciate his time. Good chat. Down to earth guy. Super, super humble. Class act for sure. Talked to him a couple times. I think I talked to him at Leech a little bit. I talked to him at lacrosse. I know JJ talked to him at lacrosse. Super good. So awesome. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch him and Cliff Pace coming back to the Elite Series. So yeah, tomorrow I drive to Chicago with the family for MEA here. So probably got a few things around the house, but I can hang on for a few minutes if there's anything. I think I tentatively got a couple guests in the works for the next 2 weeks here before the Natty. So the 23rd and 30th, we should have some guests for the stream. I think I'll be probably live from my hotel room next week, but we'll have somebody on, and then probably at the 30th will be right before I leave for Grand Lake. So things are coming fast. Exciting. I will say this. I forgot about this. So Arsenal Fishing just so Sunday was brutal in the wind, but Dan and I caught him, and Dan just got in. He's been working on this pliers for a minute, and they finally came in. And I don't know if you guys have used the braid scissors and the tools. You know that Arsenal makes good tools, but this thing has got a split ring tip on it, serrated jaws, a hook bender, a sleeve crimper, a lure tuning slot, a cutter for your line, and it's long enough to reach down in those pikes, and it comes with a sheath. So I'm kind of excited. I use Dan's in his boat, but I'm kind of excited. Like I've been holding on to some like really crappy pliers in my boat. So sorry, Michael. Sorry, Marty, and everybody that's fished with me the last couple years, but it's because I knew these pliers were coming. I didn't want to go out and buy some pliers that I knew I was going to get rid of. So they're spring loaded, which is super handy if you deal with pike like I do. It comes with a lanyard if you want to attach it, and then it's got a sheath. So lots of options, but this thing is very sturdy and nice. So, ooh, Ricky, hopefully that's not good. Hopefully you can take care of that. But that's why I tie to sun shirts, hoods up, visors on, Ricky. But hopefully you're all right. When do you quit throwing the chicken? I haven't really thrown the chicken a lot in the fall. I definitely would throw it in the 60s, which is about where we're bordering now. But I haven't played around with it in the 50s. I don't really know what the low end of the chicken is. So I can't really say. But I'm excited about this new pliers. So you'll definitely see these. And I got an extra pair that I'll give away on a future stream here. They are loaded up on the Arsenal fishing page, I think. And you can use the code down the bottom screen, HellaBass15, if you want to get a set of these pliers. But pretty comfortable in hand. This grip is really nice. So I just want to show those off. I'm excited about these. And you see it's got like these slots, so you can like put your like crank bit in there, your line tie, and like tweak it if you need to. So that's kind of cool. We're not gonna let I know AJ will take good care of my pliers in the boat and he'll put them back in the slot. No. We'll get rid of the believe it or not, the last decent pliers I had, RJ from Powerhouse Lithium dropped them in Lake Sarah. So it was actually the scissors. I don't know that he ever used the pliers. It was the scissors that he wouldn't put back in the slot, Kyle. So, but if you want to check them out, they are available on the Arsenal. You'll see them in the Grand Lake video. Hopefully, prying I don't know whopper plopper out of like a 6-pounder's mouth. That would be ideal. So I don't know that we're going to use the sheath. They're probably just going to go in the Slamus's holder, but Tim, you can just send him a Facebook message. You recently exploded your wacky ring pliers on a hook set, the O-ring. They did. I haven't shown this off, but he actually updated his wacky pliers to actually put a groove in it so you can use the O-rings or the regular ones. But I haven't. Working on some jigs. There you go. Yeah, I haven't tried this to really like play around with any like split rings or anything. We could do a live test here. Tim's looking to smash these boys next year. Look at that. Split ring open. That easy. Works pretty good. Like it seems like there's you search around in your boat. So like having a good pliers with split rings and cutters and things on it, then it's big and you can find it. It's kind of nice because sometimes you can never find like the little individual tools when you need it. I don't know what else is. I saw a couple good lucks on Grand and the Natty. I appreciate that. I'll just show these quick if anybody wants to see them on the. So there's the tool page. There's the new pliers. They obviously have the wacky tool, the battle braid, all good stuff here. I don't know. We'll test them out. I like the fact that it's spring loaded though. That is a big plus. And it's not like a cheap spring. It's actually a pretty nice, like machined metal spring. So I don't feel like that's gonna like wear out. I don't have any line close, but we could test it. I got some let's see what this 30-pound AN30 Yeah, I mean, it cuts it. I mean, if I'm cutting braid and doing like knots, I'm gonna be using my Arsenal scissors for sure. But you know, for the down and dirty stuff, I'm sure that pliers will be handy. Not picking AJ up, by the way. He's gonna bring his truck down and just meet me there. We talked about that. So yeah, I've had the Arsenal tools for I don't know 3+ years, no issues. These things are sturdy. I mean, they're all metal. They don't. I mean, you're gonna break your foot stepping on them before you're gonna break these pliers. Similar spring system in these as those, which is nice. Yep. Otherwise, do they make a jaw spreader for pike? They don't, but I feel like you could just get an extra one of these, JJ. What I like to do is take one pair of pliers and like grab their lip and then go in with the other pliers and get my swim jig. Ooh, yeah, that's not good, Tom. Get well. Oh, but yeah. The other thing I noticed, there was some people in the chat on Bateman stream, and he had Johnny Schultz on, and Johnny has these glasses on, and they were joking about. So like, it's like maybe I should wear my cheaters on my stream, and would I look more intelligent? Would you guys take me more seriously? Would like what I say be 40% more believable if I was wearing my cheaters? So yeah. Now I look 45 with the cheaters. I have a pair in my boat. I haven't had to break them out to tie a knot yet, but I feel like that day will come when you start doing this. That's when then you look 55. Mm, otherwise, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Make sure things get packed. We're ready to head out of the house, and we'll see you guys next week. All right, awesome. Fishing Mikey just bought a ticket. I think a few other people did. I'm probably definitely gonna buy a ticket or two as we remember here. So, uh, hey, and the way you guys win on streams, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody in this group brings home that Triton. Instant hipster specs. Wow. I don't need bifocals yet. I just cheap reading glasses all I need up close, Tom. So, but I'm sure that day will come. It turns out that I'm not invincible. My hearing's going. My eyesight's not quite as good. Yeah, AJ, Carol, people are wondering if you guys can go halvesies on tickets. So you've got suitors that want to help buy tickets with you. So yeah, did Bryant win the U.S. Open? That weigh-in was so late. Uh, Bryant Smith, did he ended up winning it, or was that just the 2-day? All right, there you go, AJ. You can hit up Carol in her DMs. You guys can work out the details on the ticket sharing. Yeah, they caught him pretty good out there in Mojave for sure in the U.S. Open. Winning moment, Brian Smith, 2004 Lake Mojave U.S. Open champion. So yeah, the pretty good event out there. It seems like. Yeah, I definitely won't be wearing the glasses for fashion purposes. That's just the 2-day. Well, the day 3 was today. It looks like based on the Facebook page, the winning moment was Bryant Smith. Yeah. Bryant Smith is the 2024 US Open champion. I don't see the weights and the results, but Sheffield ended up second. But all right, I'm gonna wrap things up. Thanks everybody that came in. If you came in late, there was some fun stuff early in the stream. Go back and check the replay. We'll see you guys next week. I definitely got a video ready for Monday. I'm getting back on things. Should have some tourney videos from Leech and Lacrosse coming out soon. Dan and I did flip flop a little bit. He ran the boat in the morning, and he's like, honestly, I've been fishing better out of the back of my boat. As soon as I went up in the front of the boat, he caught a 4.5 pounder on a buzzbait, and then I ran it the rest of the day, and caught 15 pounds, cash, nice little check. So should make a good little tourney video coming out in the future. So have a good evening. As always, here to help you guys catch more big bass and suck less. And check out the codes for Omnia, Arsenal, Powerhouse if you need anything.